All right, you've seen it, right? On your social media feed, in line at the coffee shop. There's this generation that's supposedly broke, but their lives look, well, pretty great. So today on The Explainer, we're going to get into what's being called the Iced Latte Economy and figure out what is really going on here.
And this question, this is the whole thing, isn't it? It gets right to the heart of Gen Z's financial world. On the surface, it seems kind of simple, but trust me, the answer, it reveals this massive shift in how we think about culture, money, and, what it even means to live a good life anymore.
So that leads us to our first big idea here, what some people are calling the broke billionaire paradox. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's this whole phenomenon of having basically nothing in your bank account, but from the outside looking in, your life looks surprisingly, maybe even ridiculously, luxurious. And this right here, this says it all. Low balance, high life. That's the fundamental disconnect we're talking about. The big question isn't just how are they pulling this off, but the really important one is why? Why are so many people choosing this path?
Okay, so to really get our heads around this whole paradox, we've got to start small. We've got to look at the most obvious symptom, the daily splurge. We're talking about those little habits that day after day start to tell a much, much bigger story.
And yeah, a lot of the time, it starts with this. $7, the cost of a single iced latte. It seems so harmless, right? Just a daily ritual for millions of people. But that coffee, it's not just a coffee. Oh no, it's become this incredibly powerful symbol.
But see, that $7, it doesn't stay $7 for long. The math is kind of shocking when you lay it out. That's almost $50 a week. And over a whole year, we're talking over $2,500. Seriously, think about that. That's enough for a real trip, or a chunk of an emergency fund, or a solid investment. All of that just from one little daily habit.
And this is the justification you hear all the time. The purchase isn't seen as some silly, frivolous thing. Nope. It's framed as a totally non-negotiable investment in your own well-being. It's this little piece of affordable luxury in a world that feels completely chaotic. It's a way of saying, I'm choosing a little bit of mental peace right now over some far-off kind of abstract goal of saving money.
Now, this whole mental health first thing, it absolutely does not stop at the coffee shop. It scales way up, It starts influencing these massive financial decisions and signals this really profound shift in what an entire generation even thinks a good life looks like.
And what we're seeing here is a huge generational divide. The old way of doing things was super clear. You save for things you can touch, like a house or a retirement fund. But the new playbook, it's all about collecting experiences. The goal isn't about owning stuff anymore. It's about building a life that's just packed with memories and cool stories.
This quote just nails the mindset, doesn't it? It's this idea of putting off those adult responsibilities. It's basically financial procrastination, and it's driven by this feeling that getting rich is like a total fantasy. So the thinking goes, if the long-term game feels broken anyway, why not just enjoy yourself right now?
But let's be clear, this attitude towards money isn't just happening on its own. It's totally connected to a massive revolution in how this generation thinks about work, about careers, and even about ambition itself. You know that old rise and grind, hustle 24/7 culture that was so big for a while? Yeah. Gen Z pretty much killed it. The whole idea of sacrificing your entire life for some big company, working around the clock for a promotion that might not even happen, that's not a badge of valor anymore. It's seen for what it is, a trap.
And what's replacing it is this new ideal called the soft life. Now, this isn't about being lazy or not working, not at all. It's a complete rethink of what success even is. A good life isn't measured by your job title or how much money you have. It's measured by your peace of mind, by your personal freedom. And this is pretty much the starter pack. Again, it's not about being lazy. It's more like a strategic retreat. It's about drawing a line in the sand, setting firm boundaries, and choosing your own well-being in a system that seems designed to burn you out. It's kind of like a quiet rebellion against this idea that you are only as valuable as you are productive.
Okay, but to really, truly understand what's happening, we have to talk about the biggest piece of this puzzle. We have to look at the cold, hard economic facts that actually created this whole mindset to begin with.
So before we jump to conclusions and just call all this spending irresponsible, we have to stop and ask a really important question. Is this a personal failing, or is it actually a pretty logical response to the economic reality this generation has to deal with?
Because the truth is, this generation is trying to make it in a pretty brutal economic landscape. We're talking wages that aren't going anywhere, insane rent prices, and a cost of living that just keeps climbing. For so many young people, those traditional milestones like, buying a house, they don't even feel like a goal anymore. They feel like a complete fantasy.
And this really gets to the core of the conflict. On one side, you've got the reality of your income. And on the other, you have this lifestyle that's just constantly being pushed on social media. It creates this huge, stressful gap. They're not earning what their parents did at the same age, but the pressure is there to spend like a full-time influencer.
So, where does that leave us? What does it all mean? Well, maybe that daily splurge isn't about being reckless at all. Maybe it's about control. When those big life goals feel totally out of reach and the future feels so uncertain, maybe you find your joy and your power in the little things you can control. Which brings us all the way back to where we started. Is that $7 iced latte a symbol of financial failure, or is it a small act of defiance in a world that feels kind of rigged? I'll let you be the judge of that.